Inevitable. The cries of the cicada. Ending of summer. Ranking. Melancholy. A gloomy state of mind, especially when habitual or prolonged. Depression. Sober thoughtfulness. Pensiveness. Music. A medium of expression that can evoke a plethora of emotions. Though interpretations of any musical piece may vary, there is typically a general sense of commonality in regards to an overall theme. Today, I present to you a list of pieces that have had a profound emotional impact on me. To be more specific, pieces that resonate a sense of melancholy, somberness, pensiveness. Such states of being can be associated with the buildup of coming face to face with unfavorable circumstances, the beginning of a journey wrought with hardship, or the realization of loss. With these themes in mind, here is my list for the top 10 melancholic video game songs. War, a time of seemingly endless strife for those who are involved, from civilians to those who choose to bear arms for a cause. Modern gaming has somewhat warped our views on the realities of war by removing the fear and dread that comes from true loss. Through the implementations of respawn systems, and though timed, generally infinite access to resources, and the usage of isolated combat arenas, the idea of loss has become less dreadful. A simple creation of a new round, or a rage-quitting fit, are generally reset switches for such unfavorable results. Of course, I am aware that many shooters and warfare simulators are made for our entertainment. I too enjoy a nice round of bullet-riddled competition from time to time. In Valkyria Chronicles, the characters under your command each have their own personalities and traits. Though there are key characters in your squadron that differ greatly in importance, you have every responsibility as a leader to make sure everyone comes out alive. Why? Because death in this battlefield can be permanent. If one of your soldiers isn't rescued in time after being incapacitated, they eventually meet their end with a death scene with this music in the background. Though some scenes have a lighter feel and some soldiers can be quite vengeful, there are quite a bit of sad moments of regret.
Just once in my life, I wanted to ride in a tank. How stupid can I? Welcome, I wish I never met you.
Desolation, where are you? I can't see anything.
Of course, this can all be circumvented by reloading a save file, but where's the fun in that? However, not all deaths are preventable. A piece from an RPG mostly themed around musical terminology and a reimagined Frédéric Chopin. Silence and Life plays during your visit to an area called the Adagio Swamp, fitting for the tempo of the song that plays and the nature of the location. Once a bountiful area for crops, the area has suffered irreversible damage from a nearby mining of a powder that seems to make people sick. Like most areas in the game, the swamp is riddled with monsters and items while you find your way out. However, the dulcet tones of this piece complement the general feel of this marsh. The mossy road and underbrush, the willowy trees, the listless water. Though deceivingly uplifting upon first listen, Silence and life instills in you a sense of somberness that may or may not leave you questioning the current state of the land you traverse. At number 8, Time Travel from Professor Layton and the Unwound Future. This piece is an ending theme for the game and plays after what I consider to be one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the series overall. How this scene plays out I won't spoil too much, but it did have me in tears. Though the piece alone itself may not seem to bear any melancholic weight to it, the events associated with it evoke a bittersweet emotion. After facing so many trials and tribulations, one would normally feel relieved, as if the weight of accumulated from the journey suddenly drops from your shoulders. However, with the lessening of one burden, Professor Layton takes on an emotional toll from experiencing a loss that he has once experienced before. In these moments, we witness the professor at his most vulnerable. The intellectual, superhero-esque gentleman is human, just like the rest of us. This piece was bound to pop up somewhere on the list. Possibly one of the more memorable and recognizable musical pieces in Final Fantasy history. From covers to live performances, I'd probably laud it as one of the more memorable pieces in video gaming overall. Maybe. Upon listening to this theme when Final Fantasy X first released, and as young as I was, it gave me chills. Though as beautiful as the piano melody is, I cannot help but feel a sense of helplessness and futility after listening to it. As a kid, it was pretty damn difficult to instill such an emotion into me, and I think for most kids as well. Also, it doesn't help that the opening scene starts with this piece along with Tidus's famous first few lines. Makes you want to know what the story entails.
Listen to my story. This may be our last chance.
Many people who have played Super Mario Galaxy probably think it's all just fun space travel, boss fights, and star bits. And many people who have played the game have probably never heard of this track. Why? Because it plays during later chapters of Rosalina's storybook. The same book that many players have probably avoided because of its lengthiness and general disinterest, especially when all the chapters aren't available right away, making it a bit of a hassle to head into the room regularly. However, this storybook uncovers the origins of Rosalina and her less than cheery past. An innocent story of adventure, longing, loss, and familial ties. Most of us have probably not realized that Rosalina has had quite the character development. Other than being a simple plot device and mission hub character, Nintendo truly put their hearts into the telling of this princess's tale as a character with some substance. Perhaps the impatience of youth deterred us from truly appreciating this part of the game. After going back through the storybook all at once, I've experienced emotions I probably wouldn't have experienced back when I was younger. I personally recommend you viewers to go back to do it as well. Do a quick YouTube search, replay the game, however you wish to do so. How can the idea of a coming day fill someone with so much hope and apprehension all at the same time? To the Moon has such a beautiful soundtrack varying in emotional depth. Tomorrow from To the Moon manages to convey such a currents. The lingering feeling of a day going by, being unable to control the passing of time, wishing you could fit more into the day. Gloom and hope bundled into a majestic theme painting an image of the moments from dawn till dusk. The game itself is also riddled with uncertainty as well. Uncertainty of the work being done, the worth of the results, and the overall meaningfulness of the journey overall. Continuing with the theme of melancholic uncertainty, nascence from Journey. There are times when melancholy can be triggered when you are given little to nothing to start with. No starting point, no sense of destination. Perhaps desolation is the correct word for the state. In such a state, one is forced to move forward without a goal, and must develop their own sense of direction and purpose. Being one of the first tracks you hear from the game, I feel it sets the right tone for it as you progress through the game itself. Thematically speaking, I never really understood the link between this song and the game overall. I typically associated Kingdom Hearts with being a fun, carefree, free-roaming RPG. You know, slash slash here, magic spell there, fighting alongside favorite Disney characters, and watching neat Square cameos. However, the piece does fill me with a sense of uneasiness and bliss, as if there is something greater to be sought, despite the doubts that prelude your first steps into searching for it. Whatever it is anyways. Of course, I'm sure there are underlying themes and messages involving friendship and bonds that tie into the song. Things like meeting people again. Goodbyes don't have to be forever. Friendship is everlasting, so on and so forth. Actually, maybe I do have a sense of understanding, and it took me writing this part of the script to realize it. Yeah, seems about right. Let's move on. The title, the piece, the rush of desperation and distress gripping every fiber of your being. During the later sections of Chrono Cross, after traversing a temporal clusterfuck called the Dead Sea, you find yourself reaching what seems to be the epicenter of this land frozen in time. What awaits you is a decrepit version of Lean Square from Chrono Trigger, and some familiar faces in the form of ghost children. Upon further exploration, you come across a fallen Nadia's bell, accompanied by the bitter accusations of those same ghost children mentioned before. You are blamed for the end of the world, the very world that these children have claimed to have worked so hard to save. You are then confronted by Miguel, the mentioned family friend who unravels part of the plot and explains that your existence somehow affected the splitting of dimensions and the restoration of a timeline doomed for destruction. Okay, at this point I'm sure I've lost you. As much as I love this game, I'm going to admit the plot is extremely convoluted and confusing. But for now, let's take the moment for what it is. After the exposition, you are then forced to fight Miguel as he is the guardian of the Dead Sea, which is essentially a recycle bin for unborn timelines. Defeating Miguel reestablishes the imminent destruction of your world, or so I've interpreted. And the worst part is, Miguel practically tells you since everything is predestined, if the world is doomed, the world is doomed. Essentially, you are put into a position where you are forced to go against fate. As far as I'm concerned, that is some fairly heavy responsibility and guilt dropped on you right here. Kind of hard not to become depressed upon hearing such truth bombs. Your existence is the cause for the end of the world, and it's your job to prevent it. Like I said, heavy stuff. However, don't let the convoluted nature of the plot derail you from the idea that this musical piece fits for such a moment. With that in mind, I'll leave you off with part of Miguel's monologue in hopes of clearing up of some of the craziness I had to explain. Hitsuzen teki, semi no nakigoe, owaru natsu. Again, thank you for anyone who took the time to watch this video. As you can see, things are still in progress and I'm still learning quite a bit, mostly regarding voice work and camera work. But hopefully things will get better by my next video. So until then, see you next time.